So we're going to get started with lesson 9.2, which is the second lesson of our chapter, linear inequalities. And we're going to be discussing how to solve single-step inequalities, so one-step inequalities. And that is more or less the exact same procedure as linear equations, with the exception of a few little things. So just a quick little reminder, when we're discussing inequalities, we are discussing a linear mathematical sentence, except for you have to remind yourself that there's not one solution, but there are multiple possible solutions for every inequality. And that's why our first definition is just a quick little reminder that this is a solution of an inequality. Sorry about that. So solution of an inequality. And that means that it's a value or a set of values that satisfies the inequality. It can contain many values, okay? The only time that it wouldn't contain more than... No, I retract what I just said. It can contain many values, okay? So how do we solve each inequality? Well, if you understood linear equations, you will most likely understand this as well because it's the same type of procedure. You look at what you do, you look at what you have, and you isolate the variable. And how do we isolate the variable? BEDMAS backwards. So SAMDEB. So here we have x minus 1.6. Well, the subtraction, the opposite of that is a positive. Therefore, we add 1.6 to each side. And we cancel that out. Therefore, it becomes x is less than or equal to... We're just going to double check. There we go. Just wanted to make sure I didn't have a brain fart on you guys there. X is less than or equal to -4, and that is your solution. Now, moving along to the next one, we're going to take this -10. We're going to make him a -8. Okay? So -8 is greater than 4x. So method number one, there's two methods. You can do this using a diagram, so symbolically, or you can do it algebraically, and that is using the math, which is what we did up here, okay? So if we do this symbolically, what we need to do here is we need to represent this 4x, and so we're going to create 4 circles. Each circle represents x. And then we take this -2 and we're going to distribute it evenly between each and one of these x groups, okay? So -1, -1, -1, -1, that's -4. And then -1, -1, -1, -1, that's -8. So therefore, our solution then would be -2 is greater than x. And the reason we use greater than is because it's the same symbol here. Okay? And that would be your final solution. Now, moving along to how to do it algebraically. Same sort of idea. -8 is greater than 4x. So we want to isolate the variable using SAMDEB. So it's 4 times x here. So what's the opposite of a multiplication? It's a division. So you divide by 4 on each side. And that means -2 is greater than x. And there's your final answer. Now, the very last example here on this page is a little bit different, and it's actually something that requires you to understand that there's one specific rule, and this is where one of the biggest differences comes between inequalities and equations. Here's the rule. When multiplying or dividing by a negative number. You must reverse or switch the inequality symbol. Now, this is a very, very important rule for you to know. You have to know this. You have to memorize this. So, what does this look like? Well, here's an example. X divided by -8. That is a negative number that we are trying to get rid of so we can isolate our X. So, if it's X divided by -8, we have to multiply by -8. And what we do to one side, we do to the other. Now, here's the trick. You multiplied by a negative number. Therefore, you must reverse or switch the inequality symbol. So currently, the inequality symbol is facing, the opening is facing X. This means that we have to take it and flip it around. We have to switch it or reverse it. You don't need to add or take away an equal sign under it. That's not what I'm getting at. What I mean is you have X. 3 times -8 is -24. And you take this inequality symbol and you simply write it so that its opening is facing the other way. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is probably the biggest thing that causes people the biggest issues when they are working with inequalities versus equations. You have to remind yourself, when multiplying or dividing by a negative number, you must reverse or switch the inequality symbol. So, let's go on to example number 2. We're going to verify if a solution for each inequality is actually the correct solution. So this is my inequality right here, and this is what supposedly is the solution. I have to prove if this is or is not the solution. So here's how we do this. Show your work as always, and then we're going to prove if this is or is not the correct solution. So it's X minus 12, so that's a subtraction. Therefore, we have to simply add 12 to both sides. So X, now because I added, that has nothing to do with the rule of reversing or switching the inequality symbol. So that will remain the same. And then it's 20 plus 12, which gives me 32. So is this the correct solution? Yes, it is. Now let's move on to the second example here. Negative 5x is less than 30, and we want to prove if x is less than -6 is in fact the correct solution or not. So what do we have here? We have a multiplication going on, and it's -5 times x. So what's the opposite of a multiplication? It's a division. So if you divide by -5, divide by negative something. That should trigger something in your head automatically. Therefore, x. Now 30 divided by -5 is -6. So they've got the correct variable, they've got the correct number. However, we divided by a negative number. What is the rule? The rule is you take the inequality symbol and you switch it or you reverse it. So it should actually be facing towards the x, the opening. Therefore, we should be able to say x is greater than -6. Is this the correct solution? No, it is not. This is correct, and we're going to put a big X beside that one there. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. A quick little reminder for you that when dividing or multiplying by negative numbers, you must reverse the inequality symbol. All right, as always, you guys love these word problems, I know it. So let's get started. Okay, first things first, let's read this and let's make sure we understand. Yvonne is planting trees as a summer job. She gets paid $0.10 per tree. Per tree. That means every tree she plants, she gets this much money. She wants to earn at least $20 per hour. At least. That is your huge keyword right there. That, ladies and gentlemen, will tell you which inequality symbol you need to use. So, how many trees must she plant per hour in order to achieve her goal? So this right here tells you what are we trying to find, which means now we know how to name our variable. So x equals trees. Now, we know that the number that we have, the number that we need to discuss is, it says at least $20 an hour. That is what she wants to earn. So that has to go on one side of our inequality here. Now, we know that x has to go on the other side of the inequality. And the other number we want to focus on is this guy right here, because that's how much she gets paid per tree. So in order to determine how much she makes per hour, we have to figure out how many trees will she have to plant. So we take this and it says per tree. Well, x is the number of trees, so that means that this should be multiplied by x. So 0.10. Now, at least, that means that she wants to make $20 an hour or more. So if I say or more, that is greater than $20. But she would be happy with $20 as well. So it can also be equal to 20. So x must be greater than or equal to 20. And that's how we figure out our inequality. Now, it says to solve the inequality and interpret the solution. Here's the thing. Because it has so many values possible for our inequality, what you have to remind yourself is when it says interpret the solution, you must give a sentence as your answer. So let's solve the inequality first. Okay, so this is a multiplication. It is not a negative number. Therefore, I don't have to worry about reversing this symbol. I simply divide to isolate my variable. And x is greater than or equal to 200. That's my solution. Now let's interpret. Yvonne must plant. Now, here's the trick. A lot of people want to say 200 trees. That is incorrect. She can plant 200, but according to our inequality, she can also plant more than 200 trees in order to make her goal of at least $20 an hour. It didn't say she had to make 20. It said she wanted to make at least 20. So she'd be happy with that or more. Therefore, how you word your sentence is extremely important. You have to use words like at least, this number or more, things like that. Or you can say at most, no more than. You have to be very careful, but you must say those kinds of things. So Yvonne must plant. We can say at least 200 trees. You can also say, our final answer, you can also say Yvonne must plant 200 trees or more. You can say something to that effect, but you have to make sure you are saying something to the effect of how it is 200 trees or more that she can plant in order to reach her goal. So that's all I have for you guys. This is an important lesson for you to make sure that you're understanding what's going on. Please message me if you have any questions, guys. Otherwise, good luck and have a great day.